Hello, dear students. Welcome back to English literature class. Today, we are going to discuss the remaining part of So What Are You Anyway by Lawrence Hill. So, without wasting your and my time, let's begin. Uh, in the last video or in the last lecture, we were witnessing Mr. Henry Norton was very curious to know about the race of the girl Carol, and in order to know that, he asks her what her daddy is. The girl doesn't understand the question because to Carol, like any other children of the world, a dad has almost the same definition. According to Carol, a dad is somebody who makes pancakes every Sunday and allows Carol to pour sauce on that before eating, and the whole family sit together to eat. And a dad is somebody who, while the members of the family or the family members are cherishing Sunday feast, Sunday breakfast, her dad tells her and other members stories. So, this is what the girl understands by a dad. Okay, to her, a dad means that, not what Henry Norton wants to know. Okay, so Norton, actually, she is imagining all these things when Mr. Henry Norton asks her what is her dad. Remember, he doesn't ask, I'm telling you the story in simple present tense only. So he doesn't ask her who her dad is. Rather, he asks her what her dad is. Okay, so difference between who and what. Okay, we have already discussed, we'll be discussing more. So Norton leans toward Carol. Henry Norton leans toward Carol. Okay, leaning, you understand? You make a tilting gesture towards somebody to reach him or her, so that is called leaning. Somebody who is sitting by your seat, by you, and you want to talk to that person, so you have to lean towards that person in order to be close. Okay, right? And Henry Norton addresses the girl thus: say, suppose, say you had a coloring book. Henry Norton tells Carol that suppose you have a coloring book. So what color would you make your dad? Suppose you have a coloring book and you are going to color the face of your dad. So what color are you going to use in order to color the face of your dad? Okay. The girl answers innocently, I never use just one color. The girl answers innocently, I never use the same color. Okay? Okay? What color would you make his face? So now Henry Norton asks the girl, what color are you going to use to color his face? Okay, to color his face in that drawing or painting that you are going to make. So the girl answers, or Carol answers, brown. I will use brown color in order to color the face of my father. Okay, on a sheet of paper. Okay, so now the man Henry Norton understands, to some extent I should say, uh, about the race of uh, Carol's father. When she says brown, he understands something. What does brown mean? Okay, which race? He understands. We don't need to discuss it right now. Okay, and your mother, suppose you have to color the face of your mother, so which color you are going to paint? Carol imagines a blank page. Carol, when she is asked by Henry Norton that which color you are going to use to for the face of your mother, so Carol imagines a blank page. What do you understand by that? Carol imagines a blank page. What do you understand? If you have to color the face of your mother or your father or anybody in the family or anybody, any friends or relatives or teachers, you need to have a color in order to paint the face with. Okay, but she imagines a blank page. Why? What I understand is that Carol's mother is white, a European or an American, so she is so white, as white as a blank page of a sheet. Okay, okay, okay. What would she put in her mother's face? She is imagining, she is thinking, if at all she has to use any color, which color she is going to paint with. She has to put something in there because the face, portion of the face cannot be left without any paint, without any color. She can't leave a blank. I don't know. She is imagining that which color I'm going to use, and then she doesn't understand. She cannot decide which color to. Please be quiet, children. Etesham, be quiet. So, which color she is not able to decide which color she is going to use for the face of her mother. Sure, you do. When the girl says, after all, after a lot of imaginations and contemplations, that which color she has to use, she is not able to decide which color she is going to use for the face of her mother. And at last she says, I don't know. I don't know which color I have to use. Okay. Sure, you do. Mrs. Norton interferes. Mrs. Norton interferes. Sure, you do. You know, you must be knowing which color you have to use for the face of your mother. How would you color your mother's face? Now, Mrs. Norton asks Carol which color you are going to color the face of your mother's. Okay, which color you are going to use to color the face of your mother in the picture you are going to draw. The girl says, after blank page, first she imagines that I will leave the page blank because she's as white as a blank page. Then she says, yellow color I'll use. If blank I cannot leave, so I can use yellow color. Which people, which country do you like imagine when I say yellow color? The yellowish face. Who have, the Chinese or Japanese? Okay. So Carol says, sorry, Carol sees Mr. and Mrs. Norton look at each other. Carol sees Mr. and Mrs. Norton look at each other. What do you think they look at each other when she says that I will use yellow color in order to color the face of my mother? Then why do you sometimes you also happen to look at each other? Okay, okay. When you do not understand, suppose I ask you a question or you are not in a mood to answer the question, okay, or you have something else in your mind, so what happens, you look at one another there in the classroom because you do not understand. Okay, that doesn't happen actually. I have given you a bad example. Okay, so if you get a question or if you get an answer which is unexpected or which is strange or which is unexpected, you look at each other. So this is the case with Mr. and Mrs. Norton. They look at each other when Carol says that I'll use yellow color in order to color the face of my mother. Okay, is your mother Chinese? Or maybe now actually they look at each other. Here I come to know that they look at each other, that yellow color means Chinese, though they did not say even a single word with each other. Mr. or Mrs. Norton did not share even a single word between the two, but they looked at each other and through their eyes they communicated and they came at an agreement, and there was a like a we say both of them agreed that okay, through their eyes only, okay, yellow color, you understand, yellow color means what? Chinese. So they agreed and they said Chinese, your mother is a Chinese, yellow color, yellowish. Chinese people have yellowish look at their faces. To this, Carol says, no, my mother is not a Chinese. Are you sure you would color her yellow? Okay, because she said that mother is not Chinese, and actually why they thought that her mother must be a Chinese, because the girl said that if at all I have to leave the page blank, I can use yellow color. So they concluded that her mother must be a Chinese, but she said that my mother is not a Chinese. So once again they have to know it. Okay, so no, I'm not sure that I will use a yellow color for the face of my mother. Okay, what else might you color her? Suppose you are not going to color the face of your mother with yellow color. So what other color you are going to choose if not yellow? Actually, the girl is not able to decide which color. First, she thought of leaving it blank, then yellow color. Okay, and she was not able to decide because of so white she was. Okay, uh, what else might you color her? What else the girl uh, doesn't understand. She gets confused. Carol feels ashamed at her stupidity. Carol feels ashamed like a child that I'm not able to answer their questions, or I'm not able to decide which color I will use to color the face of my mother. So she feels ashamed. A tear races down her cheek, red. She says, finally, when you are children, you are asked by your relatives, you sing a rhyme, recite a rhyme, when you are not able to recite that. So some of you may be embarrassed. Okay, so that's the situation with Carol. She says, red, first blank, then yellow, then she says actually she is indecisive, she is not able to decide which color she has to use. So she said red, then they disapprove this. You can't color a face red, can you? Is your mother white? They could just guess that the child is not able to decide which color she has to use. So she must be white. Okay. So is your mother white? Is she like me? I don't mean like me. Like Mr. Henry Norton. Is your mother like me? Means like Henry Norton there. Okay, because Henry Norton, we come to know here that he's also white and his wife is also white. Okay, her face, is it same color as mine? Okay, right? Is it same color as mine? Mr. or Mrs. Any of them is asking. Okay. To this, the girl said, yes, my mother is the color of yours. Okay. So now they come to know, Mr. and Mrs. Norton come to know that Carol's mother is white. White means of European origin. Okay. And your father's your father is brown? Carol nods. Yes. So when you say brown, do you mean he is a Negro? Now this Mr. and Mrs. Norton seem to be taking a no objection certificate for the girl, that you have to tell, you said that your father is brown, so they are now giving a lesson in racism. Okay, these Mr. and Mrs. Norton are giving a lesson in racism to this innocent girl. Okay, there are things which we are not supposed to share with small children. This kind of things of hatred or nonsense or communalism and racism, these kinds of things are not to be shared with the growing minds and the growing children. Okay, uh, they are actually uh, Carol's parents were educated. Okay, they were educated, but they didn't feel like teaching such kind of things. So but they want to teach racism, the meaning of, I mean, these kind of things to the child. Okay, so they say that when your father is brown, so he is a negro. When somebody is brown, his face is brown, or her face is brown, then he or she is a negro. A negro is an offensive word. This is not used, I think. A negro, actually it is used for the people of African origin. Okay, so he is negro. Okay, yes, of course, her father is a negro, she thinks herself to herself. If Mrs. Norton wanted to know all along if her dad was a Negro, why didn't she ask? Just ask. So the girl wonders if at all Mr. or Mrs. Norton wanted to ask her whether her father is Negro, why did they not simply ask whether your father is Negro? Okay, excuse me. Now, that is not enough. That is not enough, and that is not the end. That is not enough, and that is not the end. These people have more in stock for this uh, innocent child. So you are mixed. Now, mixed is an offensive and abusive word. Civilized people do not use this kind of word for anyone else, for other human beings. Okay, so you are mixed. Mixed means if a child's parents are from two different races, one of them is white, I mean from European origin, and the other is black, means from African origin, the child is said to be mixed. And this is not a right word to say, like it is an abusive word, it is not to be used. So Mrs. Norton says, you are a mulatto. Okay, you are a mulatto. The word has come from Spain, and don't want to discuss details of the word with you. Okay, so all that we have to know that this is an offensive word, this is an abusive word. Okay, one should not use this for anyone. Okay, and so here uh, the Carol's lip quivers, quivering, trembling out of nervousness or fear or anger. So at this moment, I feel that Carol is nervous, afraid, angry at the same time. She is embarrassed also. Okay. Carol's lip quivers. What is a mulatto? When a child has parents from two different, I have already discussed, I don't want to discuss more about that. Okay. Why do they keep asking her what she is? She isn't anything. Now she gets angry and she starts shouting in the plane itself. Okay, so is that it? You are a you are a mulatto. You know what a mulatto is, don't you? Haven't your parents taught you that word? Now this is enough. Now they expect Mr. and Mrs. Norton expect the parents of Carol to teach their child these kind of nonsense, filthy and abusive words. Okay, what kind of people they are? So, approaching with a cart of juice, the stewardess, means the air hostess, looks up and smiles at Carol. So, when that air hostess who was carrying a cart of juice with her, she gives a friendly smile to Carol. She gathers, means Carol gathers a rush of courage. She has now confidence and courage to face Mr. and Mrs. Norton, right? Leave me alone. The child, after getting confidence and courage, uh, she shouts, she screams at Mr. and Mrs. Norton, leave me alone. Okay, now it is a plane full of passengers. Passengers stare. The stewardess spills a drink. Some drops of drink are also like spilled there in the tray. Mrs. Norton sits back hard in her seat and her hands raised and fingers spread. Means Mr. and Mrs. Norton, they are shocked because never before during her conversation did she react like that. Never. Okay, so now she exploded with anger. Okay, Carol sees people watching. Carol is able to see that the people in the plane are all watching her, but she cannot help it. She cannot help it. Why do you keep asking me if my dad is Negro? She starts crying, screaming at Mr. and Mrs. Uh, Norton. Why do you keep asking me if my dad is Negro? Yes, he is Negro, okay? Okay? Negro, 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 he is Negro. Calm down, calm down. Mrs. Norton is trying to reach to Carol, to the little girl, but the air hostess present there, she apprehended things. She understood what was going on. She scolds. The air hostess scolds Mrs. Norton. Don't touch her. It is your responsibility. It is the responsibility of the elders. If a child is being embarrassed such a way, we should be responsible there. Okay. Don't touch her. Who are these people? Who are these people? The air hostess is angry with these people, Mr. and Mrs. Norton. Who are these people? Someone, okay, it is not the air hostess, rather, it's one of the passengers. Someone says from across the aisle, okay, who are these people? Okay, someone calls from among the passengers. Imagine talking to a child like that, and in 1970s, I think more you can discuss with your history teacher. It was there in the 17th century only, and it is when in 1970 means it is that 18th century is going on, and such things, I means when this thing happened in the plane, actually that racism and this kind of discrimination based on race was illegal. So one of the men was like shocked to know or to witness that these people are harassing this little girl on the basis of her color. Okay, one woman sitting, she offered a seat to her, but she said, no, I'm not going to sit with you. She is still angry. Would you like to come and sit with me? No, no, Carol, I don't like all these questions. She keeps asking me how I would color my parents in coloring book. Why do you keep me asking that? How would you like it if it happened to you? So what are you anyway? What are your parents? What you how would you color them? Well, I don't care. I even don't care. How would you like to come and see? Okay, sorry, I'm sorry here. Actually, in the same tone I was telling you. Actually, now the air hostess reaches out to Carol, and she, in a friendly manner, tells her, "Please come and sit with me, and I would prepare Shirley Temple for you." It's not that Shirley Temple. Shirley Temple is Jews, and I have written here Shirley Temple. I'll prepare Shirley Temple for you. Have you ever taken? Okay, so the girl gets courage, and now she is ready to share Shirley Temple with the air hostess. So the air hostess comes to her rescue. She is a good human being. Okay, and Shirley Temple, I should tell you, I have written here. Shirley Temple is an American drink where the ingredients are cherries, lemon, lime soda, grenadine syrup, other ingredients I don't know, I have written, so you can also enjoy. So now children, a note is given there, that's given in your book as well. Okay, let me read. 2 minutes are there, I can read. Okay, uh, we humans have always, see, leave this thing, I'll tell you like that. Okay, so dear children, nowadays actually that racism, this is called racism. What Carol witnessed in the plane, that was part of racism. This is called apartheid. 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 Apartheid is a term which means discrimination on the basis of color. Actually, in those days, which days you will discuss with your history teacher. Actually, you might remember Mahatma Gandhi thrown out of his compartment for being a black. Actually, the black people, the non-European people, let me tell you in short, not non-European people were considered inferior to the European people. So this is called racism. And more than the Asian, we Asian people were also discriminated. Okay, more than the Asian, the African people were considered not more than subhuman. They were not even considered human beings. They were just considered as subhuman. Means they are just in the transition period, becoming from animals to humans. Okay, but you must have heard of that the contribution of Abraham Lincoln in the abolition of slavery from America, and then there were different reformers in different parts of the world, and they contributed a lot. They fought for the cause of the non-European people, the black people, okay, the African people. And now that racism, that discrimination on the basis of color, race is illegal. Okay, right now in almost all countries of the world it is illegal, and there has to be equality. So what things happen with the black people, uh, that they were not considered as humans. They were made slaves. They were forced to work for the white people. Their Okay, so it's going to be 30 minutes now. I would like to end right now. I think the message is clear. It is about racism, the practice of racism based on one's race. Thank you very much. With this video, I will attach a few questions and I would request you to attempt those questions. Okay, thank you very much. God bless you.